Hi, this is Jane from Orange Brackets. Great to have you here. Today we're turning confusing insurance clauses into clear language without changing what's covered. That balance matters. Clients are frustrated, renewals are slipping, legal needs key terms kept, and customer care wants fewer callbacks. Leadership needs a plan before renewal season. Here's how we'll do it. First, we'll find the most confusing clauses by looking at legal risk, ambiguity, and real complaint volume together. Then we'll rewrite those clauses in plain language while keeping the must-keep terms. Finally, we'll create short summaries for different audiences. So, legal, agents, and policyholders all get the same truth in words that work for them. All right, let's start by exploring the data we'll use. To kick things off, let's import Pandas, our go-to tool for working with data in clean, table-like structures. Now we'll load the policy clauses file from the datasets folder and store it in a data frame called policy clauses, so it's easy to analyze. Quick size check. Let's print the shape to see how many rows and columns we just loaded. Let's also peek at the first 3 rows, just to confirm the columns look right and the values make sense before we go further. We've got the policy clauses loaded. Each row is one clause. You'll see its section, its legal risk level, and a list of must-keep terms, words we can't change. There's also an ambiguity flag. If it's marked yes, the wording is likely confusing. These signals help us focus where it matters most, clauses that are risky, vague, and likely to cause trouble. Next, we'll bring in customer care feedback, the voice of the customer. Calls, emails, tickets, real places where confusion shows up. We'll use this to spot hotspots. Which sections trigger the most questions or disputes? That gives us a real-world heat map. First, I'll load the customer feedback CSV from the datasets folder into a data frame called customer feedback. Now all the comments are in one place. Quick sanity check. Let's print the shape to confirm rows by columns and make sure the file loaded correctly. Great. Now let's peek at the first 3 rows to see the columns and the kind of feedback we're working with. Now we can connect the dots. We can see which policy sections drive questions and how urgent those issues feel. Sentiment shows frustration, priority shows urgency, and region tells us where we might need localized examples later. This keeps our work grounded in reality, not guesswork. Next, we'll load our summary targets. Think of these as audience profiles. Each one sets a reading level, a tone, and a word limit, so our summaries fit the reader. Legal needs precision. New policyholders need simple and calm. Agents need quick reference. The model will follow these settings. All right, let's pull in the summary targets CSV from the datasets folder and store it in a data frame called summary targets. Now the table's in memory, ready to explore. Before we move on, quick size check. Let's print the shape so we know rows by columns. Now let's peek at the top. Show the first 3 rows to confirm the headers look right and the values loaded cleanly. Perfect. We've got profiles for new policyholders, renewals at risk, legal review, and agent training. Same coverage, different packaging. That's how we make the content useful across the company. Fast. Let's quantify confusion risk. We'll blend 3 signals into one score. Legal risk, ambiguity, and complaint volume. Think of it like triage. High legal risk, plus a lot of complaints goes to the top. Then we'll chart the top clauses, so everyone can see where to start. First, let's bring in Matplotlib's plotting tool so we can visualize our results. Now we'll summarize customer feedback by policy section, count how many complaints each section received, and put that in a tidy table called complaints. Next, we'll merge those complaint counts onto our policy clauses by policy section. We'll use a left join, so every clause stays, even if it has no complaints. Some sections won't have complaint data, so we'll fill those gaps with zeros and make the complaints column an integer. For risk scoring, we'll set up a quick lookup. High maps to 2, medium to 1, and low to 0. We'll apply that mapping to each clause's risk level to get a numeric risk weight we can compute with. Let's capture ambiguity too. If the flag is yes, that's a 1, otherwise it's a 0. Time to combine signals. Confusion score equals risk weight doubled plus the ambiguity bit plus the complaint count. Higher means more confusing and riskier. We'll rank clauses by this score, highest first, and take the top 5, our highest priorities to fix. Finally, let's draw a horizontal bar chart for those 5. Flip the axis so the biggest is on top, and tighten the layout so it's easy to read. Here's the payoff. This chart highlights the clauses most likely to be misunderstood. These are quick wins. Fix them first, and you should see fewer disputes and faster claims. It also gives legal and customer care a shared, data-backed priority list, which helps everyone align. Next, we'll set up our language model workflow with LangChain. The prompt is strict on purpose. Keep required terms exactly as written, keep meaning and coverage the same, and produce 2 outputs, a plain language rewrite and a short audience summary that follows a target tone and word limit. We'll also ask the model to list the required terms it kept so legal can check fast. Let's bring in our tools. .env to load secrets from a env file, Chat OpenAI as the chat model interface, and prompt template so we can craft a reusable fill-in-the-blanks prompt. Now we'll load the .env file so your API keys and settings come in safely, no hard coding. Next, we'll spin up the model, GPT-4o Mini with temperature set to 0 so responses are steady and repeatable. Time to design the prompt template. We'll start with the role, acting as a legal plain language editor, so the model knows its job. We'll add a rule to keep certain required terms verbatim and include a placeholder where those terms get injected at runtime. Now we'll spell out what the model should produce, nice and explicit. First deliverable, a clear rewrite that preserves meaning and legal coverage. No drift, just cleaner language. Second, a short audience summary with a max word count, tone, and reading level we can adjust per use case. Third, a quick list confirming which required terms were kept, handy for compliance. We'll include a clause ID so every output maps back to the right clause. Then we add the original text, the source the model will rewrite. And we pass the audience details so tone and complexity match the reader. With that, our template is ready. Finally, we'll connect the template to the model with a simple pipe, creating a chain we can call with variables to get polished results. Notice how clear the rules are. When constraints are explicit, drafts stay consistent and the risk of changing coverage drops. Legal gets confidence, customer care gets short, ready-to-use explanations. Everyone moves faster. Time for an example. We'll take the single most confusing clause from our list and generate 2 drafts for 2 different audiences. Same facts, same coverage, different tone and length. As you review the outputs, check 2 things: that every must-keep term is present and that the plain language version is easy to read aloud. If you can read it smoothly, your customers can too. Let's start by ranking the clauses by confusion score, highest first, and keep just the top one. That's the one we'll improve. Now we'll grab the first 2 summary targets, so we can try our rewrite for a couple of audiences without overloading the run. I'm pulling that single top row into a handy record named C, so we can access the clause ID and original text with simple .style fields. Time to loop through each target. For each audience, we'll build a payload with the clause details and target settings, must-keep terms, audience, reading level goal, max words, tone, send it into our chain, then print a header showing clause to audience and the model's response right after. Don't worry if this feels like a lot at once. We'll walk through it step by step. Let's wrap up. We built a data-backed priority list that blends legal risk with real customer pain. We produced clear rewrites that keep coverage intact and move faster through legal. And we generated audience-specific summaries that agents and care teams can use in emails and knowledge articles. Next steps, run this across all high-scoring clauses, pilot with one region, measure the drop in repeat contacts and disputes, then scale before renewal season. Awesome work! I'm Jane from Orange Brackets, and I'll see you in the next session.